Good morning everyone. I welcome you all to this next online session of microbiology. Topic for today's session is medical entomology. As you all know, microbiology consists of four major sections, with bacteriology, virology, mycology and parasitology, along with immunology of course, which is the basic science which deals with the health and disease, the resistance power and immunity in health and disease. The entomology, today's topic, is related to all the four sections: bacteriology, virology, mycology and parasitology, because this entomology in parts has already been covered in various lectures and practicals. So what is entomology that you should know? Entomology deals with insects or vectors. These vectors are responsible for transmission of certain infections from person to person, or from animal to person, or from environment to person. So these are insects which are transmitting infections from one place to other place. So you should know all these terms. Some of these terms may be confusing. Just a little bit mispronunciation or a mistake in spelling of the words just by one letter may lead to confusion. Particularly first four: fly, flies, flea and fleas. These are very similar words, but these are the types of various vectors like fly, flea, mite, louse, mosquito and bugs. Some of the details of some of the vectors we will be seeing in the upcoming slides. You should know the difference. You should be able to differentiate different types of vectors, different types of insects or different types of agents which are responsible for transmission of diseases. You don't have to know the exact name or exact classification or exact scientific name of that particular vector, but you should have a general idea that this might be this insect, and then you will get an idea that which kind of infection it will be transmitting. Or if in a particular region there is an outbreak of particular infectious disease, and you try to find out whether it is a vector-borne disease or not, and if it is so, you have to find out the population of that particular vector in that particular population. So these are different pictures of some of the important vectors. Just the morphology, you can see the morphology. Some of them are winged, some of them are wingless. There is a difference between the presence of leg pairs of legs, or there is a difference between the position or segmentation of the body, that is head, neck, thorax, abdomen and so on. And there might be a difference between the presence or the position of the proboscis. Proboscis is the organ which is used for sucking blood or tissue fluid or nutritive material for that particular vector. So basically infectious diseases, you should know infectious diseases can be caused by, as already discussed, bacteria, virus, fungi, parasites. So they can be classified according to that major class: bacterial infectious diseases, viral infectious diseases and so on. Plus there is one more classification of infectious diseases which should be kept in mind, that is vector-borne diseases and zoonotic diseases. So you should know the definitions of vector-borne diseases and zoonotic diseases, and you should know the difference between these two. They are not mutually exclusive. Many of the vector-borne diseases can be zoonotic diseases and vice versa, and some of the examples of these two are mutually exclusive. Like for example, malaria or dengue is a vector-borne disease. It is transmitted by mosquitoes. So dengue is not present in animal population. It is present only in human beings. So dengue is not a zoonotic disease. It is a vector-borne disease. And other example might be rabies, which is a zoonotic disease, which is present in animals. If a rabid dog bites a human being, that person will get infected, will get rabies. So there is no vector involved. Directly the animal is transmitting the infection. Animal suffers from that disease and that animal transmits that disease accidentally to human beings. So that is a zoonotic disease. Zoonotic diseases are present only in animals and they are transferred to human beings by certain accidents. So naturally the disease is present in animals. So these are examples of zoonotic diseases. So rabies is a zoonotic disease, not a vector-borne disease. And third example might be plague. Plague is example of both vector-borne disease as well as zoonotic disease, because rats suffer from the disease plague, which is caused by Yersinia pestis, which is a bacteria. So rats suffer from the disease, and from rats, the disease of rats is transmitted to human beings through a vector, which is a rat flea, which lives on the rats. Rat flea, when bites human beings, the disease plague is transmitted to human being. So a vector is involved and the disease is of animals. So it is a zoonotic disease as well as vector-borne disease. So you should know the definitions of both the diseases, the similarities and the differences. Now coming to our today's topic, that is vectors or entomology. You should know vector-borne diseases, and in that particular disease you should know the difference between pathogen and vector. Pathogen is actually the microorganism which is causing that particular clinical condition. That is, it might be a bacteria or virus, a parasite or a fungus. Fungal vector-borne diseases are very rare, not much known, but bacterial, viral and parasitic diseases are certainly there. So you should know particular examples of each of the category: bacterial vector-borne diseases, viral vector-borne diseases and parasitic vector-borne diseases. So pathogen will be the microorganism which is giving rise to that particular clinical condition. That if pathogen is not there, the disease won't be there. And second is vector. Vector is the insect or the arthropod which is transmitting that particular pathogen from one side to another side. So importance of both these is there in vector-borne diseases. They equally share the importance and they equally share the burden of transmission of the disease. If any one of them is not there, the transmission of the disease will be difficult. Like example, if mosquito population in particular locality, for example the population of Aedes mosquito in particular locality is brought down, is brought under control, the transmission of dengue or the incidence of dengue will certainly decrease. So even if the virus is there in that particular environment, if dengue mosquitoes, Aedes mosquitoes are not there, the transmission of dengue or the incidence of dengue will certainly decrease. So both pathogen and vector are equally important in vector-borne diseases in particular. The burden of vector-borne diseases all over the world is quite significant. The World Health Organization in the year of 2014 has actually declared the theme, the annual theme of WHO, and it was small bites and big threats. So we will go through a particular video which came out in the year 2014 and which is directly related to today's topic, vector-borne diseases or entomology. So let's go through the video. You will get a general idea of the burden of vector-borne diseases and what can be done as preventive measures. So that was the theme of World Health Day 2014, small bite, big threat. So moving on, we should know the types of vectors. Depending on the mode of transmission or depending on the behavior of the pathogen in or on that particular vector, vectors are differentiated into mechanical vector and biological vector. In mechanical vector, the vector only shifts or moves the pathogen from one side to other side. There is just mechanical shifting or movement of that particular microorganism from one side to other side. And in biological vector, that particular pathogen, that particular microorganism gets inside the system, inside the body of the vector, and it multiplies there or passes certain stages of its life in that particular vector. So here there is shifting as well as additional change or additional life stage modification in the life of the pathogen. So it is called as biological vector. That particular vector will be called as biological vector. And if such change is not there, only shifting from one side to other side is there, that particular vector will be called as mechanical vector. This is on the basis of behavior of the pathogen in that particular vector. Other classification will be taxonomical classification. All of the vectors belong to the phylum Arthropoda. Here we will see important or easy to understand differences between different groups of or subgroups of phylum Arthropoda. This is a very huge group. It comprises of many types of insects. Few of the important characteristics of some of the vectors have been shown here. Like some of them can be wingless. Wingless can be subclassified into having laterally flat body, for example fleas, and having dorso-ventrally flat body, for example louse or lice. And in the winged ones, if they are having one pair of wings along with the straight proboscis, they can be flies or mosquitoes. You already know mosquitoes are having only one pair of wings and a straight proboscis. So these are the examples, mosquitoes and flies. And in the winged ones, having two pairs of wings with joint, flexed and ventrally placed proboscis. So example will be bugs, different kind of bugs. So this is the actual huge subgrouping of the phylum Arthropoda. Arachnida and Insecta are the important subgroups which comprise of most of the vectors important for medical health. You don't have to remember all these classifications, you don't have to remember all the names, subphylum and tribes and all these things. You just should be able to roughly identify the vector, and you should know that all these belong to the phylum Arthropoda. Now these are the pictorial representations or examples of the important groups of the phylum Arthropoda. So this one is having a body which is laterally flat. Here you can see there is absence of the wings, and the second one is having dorso-ventrally flat body. You can see the pair of legs. So here 3 pair of legs, here 4 pair of legs, and so on. In the winged ones, the flies, first of all you will see the different flies. So here you can see the sese fly, the T is silent. Second one is sand fly. And the third one, the name is not given because it is actually the common fly, common house fly. So you should remember that some of these members will be only mechanically shifting or moving the pathogen from one side to other side, and the other, which will be called as biological vector, will be actually carrying that pathogen in their body where the pathogen is multiplying or passing a particular stage of their life cycle. Now second group is the winged ones, again the mosquitoes, which are more commonly known, very easily seen. So there are few of the important genera of the group mosquitoes. So this one is the Culex mosquito, the Anopheles mosquito. You should know that only the female mosquitoes bite because they need a blood meal before they are going to lay the eggs. So for laying eggs they need a blood meal. That is a particular nutrition requirement before laying eggs. That's why only the female mosquitoes bite. And this is the third one. The name is not given there because this mosquito is very easy to identify because of that particular white patches or white strips over the black body. The appearance is very similar to tiger, so that's why this mosquito is called as tiger mosquito. You try to find the name, the scientific name of at least the genus of this particular mosquito. The common name is tiger mosquito. Now next group are the ticks, the soft tick and hard tick. The difference is in the exoskeleton. The exoskeleton is hard in relation to hard tick, and it is comparatively softer in relation to the soft tick. Now this is a wrong picture. Actual bug is this one. Bed bug, which is responsible for transmission of a particular disease. The examples we will be seeing. Triatomine bug. These names you have already encountered in different sections of microbiology lectures and practicals. So you have to remember which kind of particular insect or arthropod or the vector is transmitting which kind of infection or infections. A single vector can be transmitting multiple infectious diseases also. And this is trombiculoid mite. So because of such different names and such different morphologies and all these details, you might be getting confused and you might be thinking that medically important, but actually these are medically important fantastic beasts, and you have to look for them, and you might be thinking that where to find them, and more importantly why to study them. So here is the importance of all these insects or vectors, as they are responsible for transmission of different diseases, different infections. They become medically important. So Anopheles mosquitoes, they will be responsible for transmission of malaria, filaria. These are just principal examples. There are many vectors which can transmit many infections to human beings. There is a limitation of presence of particular vector in particular locality because of the environmental factors and all. So all the vectors won't be seen all over the world. So some of the vectors are present only in certain geographical areas. So those kind of vector-borne diseases will be limited limitedly present in that particular geographical area. Second example is Culex mosquitoes, which will be transmitting filaria and Japanese encephalitis, and Aedes mosquitoes transmitting dengue, chikungunya, yellow fever and viral encephalitis. Then the flies, sand fly, which can be transmitting Kala-Azar, Oroya fever and cutaneous leishmaniasis, also known as oriental sore. Tsetse fly transmitting the African trypanosomiasis, also known as sleeping sickness. And house fly, which will be mechanically transmitting different microorganisms causing amoebiasis, typhoid and even dysentery. So here you should always remember the difference between pathogen and the vector. Now the flea, rat flea. Rat flea will be transmitting bubonic plague, endemic typhus, body louse causing pediculosis, epidemic typhus, relapsing fever and trench fever. Triatomine bug, aka the abbreviation stands for also known as. Triatomine bugs are also known as kissing bugs, which is a group of redwood bugs. These will be transmitting American trypanosomiasis, which is also known as Chagas disease. Trombiculin mite, also known as Shiggers. The larval form of these mites or these vectors are called as Shiggers. These are responsible for transmission of scrub typhus. So principally almost all the vectors transmit the particular infection during their meals, during their blood meal or their tissue fluid meal. But in certain condition the transmission may be just mechanical from outside their body or through their fecal matter also. This is one particular vector which is not classified in the entomology, but still it is responsible for transmission of many important infections, and this is very familiar in almost all households. This is one more vector. Try to identify the name. The name of this vector is given because of its resemblance, morphological resemblance or appearance similar to this particular one-eyed monster from the Greek mythology. One-eyed monster. So this is an old picture and this is the modern depiction of that one-eyed monster. Don't get confused by the names. You might be knowing the names of these cartoons or these animated pictures, but you should know or you are expected to know the name of this particular microorganism or the vector, which is Cyclops. So Cyclops is responsible for transmission of parasitic diseases like dracunculiasis and fish tapeworm infection. So dracunculiasis is also known as guinea worm disease. In India, this disease was very much prevalent in previous times, but now because of effective health awareness, effective treatment of the cases, early and effective treatment of the cases and health awareness, this disease has been eradicated. So in India there are now no cases of guinea worm disease. This is another picture of the Cyclops. Even in your exams you might be shown pictures of many of these vectors. Either these will be microscopic, only few of the vectors are microscopic. Many of the vectors can be easily seen by naked eyes like mosquitoes and flies. Now this is a different section. Here You should know the difference between those insects or arthropods which are actually causing the condition. Like scabies and pediculosis can be the example. Scabies is caused by the scabies mite, which is known as Sarcoptes scabi, the scientific name, and louse causes pediculosis. So these insects or arthropods are actually causing the particular condition, giving rise to that particular condition. So here they are not acting as a vector, they are actually causing the problem. So these kind of parasites are known as ectoparasites. So here, of course, if they are carrying a particular microorganism with them, they will cause the problem, but that will be an accidental thing. Ectoparasites on their own will be giving rise to different clinical conditions, like louse giving rise to pediculosis and scabies mite giving rise to Sarcoptes scabi. Sarcoptes scabi is not known to transmit any particular infection, so scabies mite does not act as a vector, but louse definitely causes pediculosis, which is problem caused by louse, and it also gives rise to different vector-borne diseases that you should know. So this is just a deviation from today's topic, but you should know the similarities and differences. Now this is another video which is covering the epidemiological aspects or social aspects or demographic aspects of vector-borne diseases as well as zoonotic diseases, and giving some ideas about study of entomology. So let's start the video. So some of the points discussed in this video also imply to the current pandemic COVID-19. You might already have figured out that COVID-19 is not a vector-borne disease, and we are not sure whether it is a zoonotic disease or not, but certain tracing can be done to the bats population. So there is a theory that this virus was present in the bats and it accidentally got transmitted to human beings. So COVID-19 is not a vector-borne disease, and you can compare the importance of vector-borne diseases and other infections which are not transmitted by different vectors. So you can study according to that and try to remember different aspects of infectious diseases. One of the important segment of infectious diseases is vector-borne diseases, and for vector-borne diseases you should know the difference of different vectors or important identification characters of different vectors, their behavior and their ability to transmit the infection, and which kind of vector transmits which kind of infections. So in your journals you will have to write the answers of your name of the insect, their identification features, and disease related, that is which infection is particularly transmitted by that particular vector. So Anopheles mosquito, Culex, Aedes, hard tick, soft tick, trunculate mite, and different types of flies like sand flies, house fly, sessile fly, rat flea, lice, bed bugs, and triatomine bugs. So these different kinds of vectors and the infections transmitted by them. So you should know that vectors are arthropods and they will be transmitting different bacterial or viral or parasitic infections. So that is all for today's topic. Thank you for your patient listening. You always should remember that you have to fight through some bad days to earn the best days of your life. So use this leisure time for preparation of your studies, for preparation of your future life in the medical field or any field for that particular matter. But don't waste the time and study well. Take care. Thank you.